The way you quarrel. You quarrel like people who are tied to each other by more than a mere love affair, you see.
She knitted in the front row while murderers confessed. She smiled at funerals and took notes at dinner parties. And somewhere between the rose garden and the drawing room, bodies just kept turning up. Miss Marple wasn't just a detective, she was a reckoning wrapped in wool. But behind the pearls and polite smiles of the 1984 BBC series, there was a world the cameras almost didn't capture. Casting wars, a lead actress fighting illness no one talked about, scripts torn apart overnight, and a production haunted by its own darkness. These are 20 dark facts about Miss Marple, 1984. Fact 1. The role almost went to someone else. The BBC approached Dame Peggy Ashcroft, a titan of the British stage. For a brief, strange window, Ashcroft was Miss Marple. Then she said no. Those close to the production suggested she found the scripts too light. So the role passed to Joan Hickson, 78, decades in supporting roles. What nobody knew was that Hickson had been personally chosen by Agatha Christie herself, who saw her in a play in 1946 and wrote her a letter hoping she would one day play Miss Marple. It took 40 years. When she finally stepped into that cardigan, it felt less like casting and more like destiny, arriving fashionably, stubbornly late.
I think it was simply that the old man found it much pleasanter to have a young, charming...
Fact 2. Hickson was seriously ill and told almost nobody. She managed significant health complications that would have sent most actors to bed, but she showed up every morning. Lines memorized, posture perfect, eyes sharp. The production team took their cues from her, since she radiated a will that made it feel almost rude to raise the subject. Every tremor of frailty she carried off set, she converted into something steel-like on camera. Some of Miss Marple's watchful, patient stillness wasn't acting. It was Joan Hickson surviving with extraordinary grace.
Continue using your maiden name in the village.
Fact 3. The village of St. Mary Mead wasn't a village at all. The production stitched together locations across England to create the illusion of one timeless community. Crew members drove between locations in the dark. Sets were dressed and undressed overnight. In one village, a resident refused to move her car from her own driveway, forcing the crew to reframe an entire scene around a 1979 Ford Cortina that absolutely did not belong in the 1950s. Fact 4. The scripts required surgery, not adaptation. Christie's novels are deceptively architectural. The mystery built into the specific order information arrives. Change that order, and you pull a load-bearing wall out of the plot. Several early scripts went through 4 and 5 full rewrites. One arrived at the read-through so unstable, the director spent the entire first day rebuilding the second act with the cast. Hickson sat through it with the patience of a woman who had survived considerably worse, made her notes, and delivered the broken script with such precision that most viewers never noticed.
Oh yes, it was all Addie's fault, all right.
Fact 5. One death cast a shadow the production couldn't script around. A beloved props assistant died unexpectedly during a hiatus. This was a show about grief disguised as puzzle solving. Suddenly, that theme wasn't metaphorical. It was sitting in the empty chair by the props table. The episode filmed in the weeks after was, by all accounts, the quietest set of the entire run.
What was the name again?
Reeve, Major Reeve, the girl.
Fact 6. The Christie estate was a fault line beneath the entire production. Notes arrived late. Approvals were withheld. In one documented instance, a subplot written to add depth to a female character was rejected for deviating from Christie's tone. A note so subjective, it was impossible to address. The writers tore it out and rebuilt around its absence. The result aired without the audience knowing what had been lost. The script just quietly becomes less than it could have been.
Dolly, what are you talking about? What body?
Fact 7. Hickson was among the oldest actors ever to carry a major BBC drama, and the physical demands were real. Miss Marple walks, crouches, climbs stairs in drafty manor houses, bends over bodies in cold English winters. Hickson filmed outdoor scenes in temperatures that had younger crew members in multiple layers. She did it in period-appropriate wool and sensible shoes. The production offered accommodations. Hickson waved off most of them.
Your good man going to be long, do you think?
Fact 8. Playing murderers in Miss Marple is a particular challenge. Your character must read as innocent for most of the runtime, performing warmth for weeks while carrying private knowledge of what you've done. The crimes here are intimate, domestic, motivated by recognizable human failures, jealousy, greed, fear of exposure. That horrible plausibility was the show's great strength and its quietly unsettling undertow. Fact 9. Several guest actors were quietly managing grief connected to the AIDS crisis while filming. At least 2 performers were privately dealing with that darkness while delivering impeccably turned performances as vicars and solicitors and country house guests. They didn't discuss it. The show was about bringing hidden darkness into the light. All around its edges, real darkness was being kept meticulously, painfully hidden. Fact 10. Hickson could not knit when filming began. Nobody checked. Early rehearsals revealed her knitting looked less like a lifelong habit and more like a woman recently handed 2 sticks and wool. A knitting coach was brought in. Within weeks, her knitting achieved the required quality. Automatic, rhythmic, unhurried, hands working while the eyes did the real work. She built it from scratch in a rehearsal room in London. Fact 11. The BBC paid Hickson not very much. For a woman carrying a prestige drama on her shoulders, delivering performances critics called definitive, the compensation followed standard repertory rates designed for supporting players. The disparity between what she was paid and what the series earned, before international sales, before home video, before the American PBS audience, was significant enough to make anyone with a calculator uncomfortable. She gave them a gold mine. They gave her a standard contract. Fact 12. Hickson received her OBE in 1987 during the run of the series. She was 78, receiving formal recognition for a role she had waited 40 years to play. It arrived late, not too late. She was alive. She apparently wore a very good hat to the ceremony. But there is something melancholy in the arithmetic. She deserved it in 1960. She got it in 1987. Fact 13. The final episode aired in 1992. Hickson was 86. The later episodes carry accumulated weight in every frame, not diminishment, but depth. She had lived inside this character for 8 years through illness, cold, underpayment, and the deaths of colleagues. The last scene is quiet, almost to the point of silence. Miss Marple sits, the mystery resolved, knitting. The needles click. The camera holds. If you know what it costs to get to that moment, it becomes more than a television ending. It becomes a document of endurance. Fact 14. After the series ended, Hickson did not retire. She continued working until her health made it impossible. She died in 1998 at 92. The series has never been remade with a performance that displaced hers. Other actresses have played the role, but Hickson remains the standard. Exactly what Christie predicted in that letter written in 1946. It took 40 years. But Christie was right. She was always right. That was rather the point. Fact 15. The house most frequently used as Miss Marple's cottage was reportedly haunted during filming. The owner insisted with the conviction of a man who had not been sleeping well. Crew members reported equipment behaving inexplicably. A sound recordist claimed his levels spiked in an empty hallway. Nobody laughed about it, which is its own kind of acknowledgement. When the subject came up with Hickson, she smiled the specific smile of a woman who found darkness in ordinary places entirely unsurprising. She did not say she believed in it. She did not say she didn't. She picked up her knitting and said nothing further, which is, if you think about it, exactly what Miss Marple would have done.
Subscribe 90s Playback for daily new videos and press the bell icon so you don't miss any update.